Prologue, the Song of the Chains. Before the age of men, before the mountains had names, or the rivers learned to whisper, there was only the silence between heaven and earth. Out of that silence rose the first winds, and within those winds came the song of creation, sung by voices older than stars. From that song were born the gods, and among them 2 sisters, Vinata, radiant as dawn, and Kadru, dark and deep as the ocean's floor. The sisters were bound by love and rivalry, and by the will of destiny itself. For the gods had decreed that from their wombs would rise to races the winged and the scaled, to govern sky and water, to hold the balance of the world. Vinata, blessed by the fire of the sun, would bear the children of the air. Kadru, kissed by the serpent of the deep, would birth the Naga lords of the undercurrents. But balance is fragile. One night, when the heavens were veiled in eclipse, the sisters made a wager. Kadru whispered to Vinata, "Let us test the truth of what is to come. Whose offspring shall emerge first from their shells? Whose children shall rule the earth?" Vinata, proud and trusting, accepted. Kadru's eggs hatched early, 1,000 serpents coiling into the night, eyes glowing with venomous light. Vinata's 2 eggs remained still, cold beneath her trembling hands. As ages passed, doubt turned to fear. In desperation, she cracked one open before its time, and from it emerged Aruna. Half-formed, his light dimmed, his wings crippled by the touch of impatience. He cried out, "Mother, why have you broken the shell of time? You have stolen my flight." Vinata wept, but her tears could not mend fate. Aruna, in sorrow, rose to become the charioteer of Surya, the sun god, forever close to the light, but never free to soar within it. And so, Vinata was left with one unbroken egg, silent, sleeping, filled with the last hope of her kind. Centuries turned like the slow breath of mountains. Kadru's serpents multiplied and ruled the rivers, while Vinata bowed her head in shame beneath the coils of Kadru's mockery. At last, when the stars aligned once more, the egg cracked open, not with sorrow, but with thunder. From it burst a blaze of light so fierce that even Indra looked away. Feathers of flame, eyes of molten gold, wings that stretched beyond sight. Garuda, child of sunfire and storm. His first cry shattered the chains of silence, and the wind itself bowed before him. But as his mother reached out to embrace him, a shadow fell. Kadru, with the cunning of the deep, spoke before the gods. "Vinata has lost our wager. She must serve me until my sons, the Naga, command otherwise." The decree was sealed. Vinata, the mother of light, was bound by chains of illusion and servitude. Garuda, still young, watched as his mother knelt before the serpents, her radiance dimmed beneath their hissing laughter. He turned his gaze to the heavens and screamed, "Is this justice? Is this the song of creation you promised us?" And somewhere, far beyond the stars, the gods remained silent. From that day, Garuda's heart became a storm. Within it burned the twin fires of love and wrath, the will to free his mother, and the defiance to challenge heaven itself. He grew swiftly, his wings gathering the strength of monsoon winds, his eyes mirroring the fire of Surya, his spirit echoing with the forbidden notes of the song of the chains, the melody that bound gods, mortals, and fate alike. In the stillness before dawn, he would perch atop the world's tallest mountain and whisper to the wind, "One day I will burn the chains that hold her. One day I will steal the light from the hands of the gods themselves." And the wind would answer, trembling through the valleys, "Beware, child of flame. The sky remembers every oath, but Garuda did not fear. For in his heart, freedom was older than divinity, stronger than death. Thus begins the legend of the Garuda King, the Sky Devourer of the East, born from light, chained by fate, destined to rise beyond both. And so the song of the chains faded into the morning wind, but its echo would guide him forever. Welcome back to my channel. This channel specializes in writing about epic tales and myths from around the world. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to help me out. Today, we will dive into a story titled The Garuda King, the Sky Devourer of the East. Forgotten epic of Southeast Asia's firebird god. Here is the detailed content. Chapter 1. The Birth Beneath the Sun. The dawn that birthed Garuda was unlike any other. It began with silence on, immense, trembling silence that spread across the world like the pause before a divine heartbeat. Then came the light, not the gentle light of morning, but the roar of 1,000 suns tearing through the fabric of the heavens. The mountains shuddered, the rivers hissed into steam, and even the gods turned their eyes away as the egg of Vinata cracked open atop the peak of Mount Meru. From the fissure burst fire, not the kind that devours, but the kind that creates. Feathers unfolded like flames caught in the wind, each one shimmering with colors unseen by mortal eyes: gold of the first dawn, crimson of sacred blood, blue of endless sky. And in the heart of that inferno stood a being, both bird and god, both storm and sun, Garuda. He inhaled for the first time, and the breath of his lungs became the monsoon. He stretched his wings, and the thunder answered. The world itself seemed to awaken to his presence. Flowers bloomed in ashes, and the clouds trembled with awe. From her knees, Vinata lifted her gaze through tears. Her chains clinked softly, those invisible links of servitude that bound her to Kadru's will. Yet in her eyes was pride, a mother's fierce and unyielding light. "My son," she whispered, "born of fire and wind, the sky itself bows to you." Garuda turned his golden eyes toward her. "Mother, why do you kneel?" Vinata looked away, her face half hidden by the shadow of the chains only she could see. "Because I have lost," she said softly. "Because pride has its price." Then, from beyond the mountains, a sound slithered, 1,000 hissing voices weaving into one. The serpents of Kodru arrived, their scales gleaming like oil upon the sea. At their head came Naga Vasuki, the eldest of Kadru's sons, his eyes glimmering with venom and triumph. "Ah, the hatchling of light awakens," Vasuki mocked, coiling around the stones. "Tell me, little flame, will you burn your own fate as your mother once did?" Garuda's wings flared, scattering sparks across the air. "Uncoil your tongue, serpent. Speak truth, or I will burn the lies from your mouth." The sky darkened. Clouds rolled in, heavy with the scent of rain and wrath. Yet before war could begin, Vinata raised her chained hands. "Stop. Do not give them what they seek. Their poison is patience. Their victory, silence." Her words stilled him. Garuda folded his wings, though every feather trembled with restrained fury. Vasuki smiled, pleased with the torment his presence brought, and withdrew into the mist. When they were gone, the silence returned, echoing painful stillness. Garuda turned to his mother again, his voice gentler. "Why do they hold you so? You are divine. You are of light." Vinata touched his face with trembling fingers. "Because the gods decree it so, my child, and the decrees of gods are harder to break than iron." Garuda looked to the horizon, where the sky met the sea. Then I will break the sky, he said simply. His mother tried to smile, but her tears fell like drops of molten gold. The sky cannot be broken, my son. Even the gods serve it. Then I will become the storm that commands it, Garuda replied. His voice, though young, carried the weight of destiny. That night, he climbed to the highest peak of Mount Meru and stood alone beneath the endless heavens. The stars burned above him, each one a witness to the vow that formed within his heart. I am born of the sun, yet bound by shadow. I will not rest while chains hold my blood captive. If the gods deny me freedom, I shall take it from their hands. He spread his wings wide, and their span blotted out the constellations. With one mighty beat, he lifted from the mountain, rising higher and higher until the world below became nothing but smoke and song. The air thinned. The heat of the sun pressed upon his feathers like molten metal. His lungs burned, his vision blurred, but he did not stop. The closer he came to the sun, the stronger the fire within him grew. And then, from within the blinding light, a voice boomed ancient, vast and radiant. Who dares approach the chariot of flame? Garuda's eyes blazed like molten gold. I am the child of Vinata. I seek the truth of my birth. The light shifted, and within it stood Surya, the sun god, his crown a halo of eternal fire. You bear my essence, Surya said, yet even you cannot fly into the heart of the sun. Why do you rise against the sky that gave you life? Garuda bowed his head, his wings trembling with exhaustion. Because the same sky that gave me life enslaves my mother. I will not bow to a heaven that knows no justice. For a long moment, Surya was silent. Then the god raised his hand, and a single ember drifted down to Garuda. It burned through air and light until it settled upon his breast, sinking into his heart. Then take this, Surya said, the fire that cannot be consumed. With it, no flame shall harm you, and no chain shall bind you. But remember, child of dawn, every gift of light casts a shadow. Garuda looked down at his chest, where the ember glowed faintly beneath his feathers. He felt neither pain nor peace, only the weight of destiny pressing upon his soul. When he descended to the earth again, dawn was breaking. His wings left trails of light across the horizon. The rivers calmed, the mountains bowed. Even the serpents fell silent. From that moment, the world knew that something greater than divine law had awakened the will of a free soul. The age of submission had ended, and the age of the Garuda King had begun. Chapter 2. The mothers cursed. The chains that bound Vinata were not forged of metal, nor sealed by the hammers of gods. They were woven from the oldest kind of power, a promise broken, a wager lost, and a shadow that could never die. When Garuda returned from the mountain of the sun, his heart still pulsed with the ember of Surya. The world bowed to his wings, yet every triumph turned hollow when he found his mother kneeling before the serpents once more. The river plain shimmered beneath the heat of the day. There, in the shade of the sacred fig tree, Vinata scrubbed the scales of Kadru's children. Around her, the Naga hissed softly, their laughter thick with venom and delight. Garuda's voice thundered across the plain. Enough. You are the mother of light, not a slave to those who crawl. The serpents turned, their jeweled eyes glimmering. Vasuki, eldest and most cunning, raised his hood and smiled. And yet, light bends when it loses its wager. You speak as though the heavens care for your pride, fledgling. But the heavens wrote this fate themselves. Vinata did not lift her gaze. Her hands trembled, as she continued her servitude, each motion a prayer for peace that never came. "My son," she whispered, "let them mock. I lost because of my own pride. To break this curse is to defy the decree of heaven itself." Garuda knelt beside her, his wings folding around her like a cloak of gold. "Then let heaven break," he said, "for I will not see you crawl while gods and serpents laugh above Vasuki's laughter, rippled like wind through dry leaves." "Oh, little flame," he said, so full of fury and youth, "do you wish to save your mother? Then bring us what the gods deny, the Amrita, the nectar of immortality. Only then shall Vinata be free." The Naga coiled in delight as the word hung in the air. Amrita, the forbidden elixir, guarded by the gods themselves, locked within the vaults of Mount Swarga, far beyond mortal reach. Garuda's feathers flared like blades of fire. "And if I bring it, you will release her." Vasuki's tongue flickered. "The word of a serpent is as old as the world. We swear it by the coils of Ananta and the breath of the deep." Vinata gasped, horror in her eyes. "No, my son, do not listen. The nectar is not for gods or men. It burns even those who touch it unworthy. This is their trap." But Garuda's heart was already aflame with destiny. "Then I will burn with it," he said quietly. "Better to burn for freedom than to kneel in the dark." He rose, wings spreading wide, casting vast shadows across the plain. The light around him shimmered, the air trembling with power. For a moment, even the serpents fell silent, awed by the divine fire that coursed through his veins. But as he prepared to ascend, his mother called out, her voice breaking like glass. "Garuda!" He turned, and for the first time, saw not the goddess of his birth, but a weary mother, one who had known centuries of shame and silence. "Do you not understand?" she cried. "The curse that binds me binds you too. Every chain that touches me has wrapped around your soul. If you defy the gods, they will not forgive you. They will strip you of your place among them." Garuda bowed his head, "Then let them. What is the worth of heaven if it allows injustice to rule beneath its eyes?" Vinata reached for him, but her hands passed through the light that surrounded him, as though fate itself had begun to draw them apart. "My son, promise me one thing. When the fire consumes you, remember, light is not vengeance, it is mercy." Garuda's eyes softened. "And yet, mercy without freedom is a cage." He turned toward the horizon, where the sky shimmered with the promise of thunder. Each beat of his wings summoned storms. Each gust carried his vow across the lands. The rivers bent toward his flight. The mountains bowed their peaks, and the clouds parted as if to make way for destiny itself. Behind him, Vinata fell to her knees, her tears shining like molten gold upon the earth. The serpents watched in silence, some with fear, others with cunning satisfaction, for they knew the gods would never allow the theft of Amrita. When the last glimmer of Garuda's light vanished into the distance, Kodru slithered from the shadows, her black scales gleaming beneath the sun. "You raised a storm," she hissed to Vinata, "and storms do not ask permission to destroy." Vinata lifted her gaze, her sorrow ancient and unending. "Better a storm that seeks freedom," she whispered, "than a sea that drowns in silence." Far above the clouds, Garuda flew until the air turned thin and cold. The ember of Surya within his chest pulsed brighter, a living sun that guided his way. He felt the call of destiny, a melody older than memory, echoing in his blood. Yet beneath that call was another song, quieter but sharper. the song of his mother's curse, whispering through every gust of wind. Break the chains, and they shall bind you anew. Steal the light, and the shadow shall claim your soul. But Garuda only smiled against the wind. Then let the shadow come, he said. I was born from light, and I will burn the dark itself if I must. And so, the son of the sun vanished beyond the horizon, his wings carving a path between heaven and earth. The gods stirred in their golden halls, sensing the coming storm. The serpents coiled in the depths, whispering prophecies. The world held its breath, for a creature born of fire and freedom had challenged the will of the divine. And though no one yet knew it, the day Garuda took flight was the day the balance of heaven began to tremble. Chapter 3. The Feathers of Storm. The sky trembled when Garuda took flight for the second time. It was no longer the uncertain rise of a young godling, but the ascension of something older, deeper, something born of the first winds that shaped the world. His wings spread across the horizon, vast and golden, catching the light of 1,000 suns. With each beat, he carved through clouds, his feathers scattering sparks that became lightning. Below, forests bent their crowns, rivers coiled into spirals, and the very air grew heavy with the scent of rain and fire. It was said that when Garuda flew, time itself slowed. The winds stopped to listen. Even the gods, from their silver palaces atop Mount Swarga, paused their songs to watch the shimmer that tore the heavens apart. But within Garuda's heart there was no predominant purpose. The vow to free his mother echoed louder than thunder. He flew beyond mortal sight, past the peaks of Meru, past the fields of cloud where the Apsaras danced. The air thinned, biting into his lungs, but his wings only beat harder, fueled by the ember that burned within his chest. Then, at the edge of the heavens, he stopped. Below him, the world lay silent and vast. Above him, an ocean of gold and fire, the domain of Surya, his divine father by flame. Between them, he hovered, a bridge between heaven and earth. It was there that the storm began to awaken. The first gust came like a whisper, curling around his feathers. Then the sky darkened, its belly swelling with unseen weight. Thunder cracked, lightning danced, and from Garuda's wings poured the breath of the monsoon itself. He cried out a call that split the heavens. The storm answered. Feathers of flame burst from his wings, each one a shard of sunlight, reborn as lightning. They whirled around him in a cyclone of color and sound. Where they fell to earth, deserts bloomed, rivers rose, and mountains split. Garuda looked upon his own storm and understood. His wings were not meant merely to fly, they were meant to shape the world. Far below, the people of the earth saw the storm and trembled. They prayed to Indra, god of thunder, crying, "The heavens are burning. What wrath have we awakened?" And in his celestial hall, Indra frowned, his crown of storm clouds flickering. "No mortal has called this tempest," he murmured. "This is no wind of mine." Agni, god of fire, leaned forward, his form rippling with flame. "It bears the breath of Surya," he said. "Yet it is not the sun's will." Varuna, lord of the waters, stirred uneasily in his sea-born throne. The storm bends neither to light nor to rain, it bends to something new, something wild. And from the silence of the council, the goddess Saraswati whispered, "It is the cry of freedom. The child of Vinata has awakened." As the storm raged, Garuda's power grew wilder. The lightning obeyed his heartbeat, the clouds moved with his breath. But with each surge of strength came a whisper of warning codes of his mother's voice. of the curse that lay heavy on his blood. Every chain broken is a debt owed to the sky. He ignored it. For what is a curse to one born to defy fate itself? But the sky remembered. From the east, a shiver ran through the clouds. The horizon split open like a wound, and from within emerged a host of winged beings, celestial guardians clad in armor of light, their spears crackling with divine thunder. At their head was Gianta, son of Indra, his wings of storm brighter than any mortal dawn. Garuda of the sunfire, Gianta's voice boomed. By decree of the gods, you trespass upon the sacred winds. The storm is not yours to command. Garuda turned, his eyes molten gold. And yet it answers only to me. Gianta raised his spear. Then you defy the heavens. I defy injustice, Garuda said. If the heavens guard chains instead of freedom, then let them fall. The air exploded. Lightning met lightning. Thunder collided with thunder. Gianta's spear struck like the wrath of Indra himself, but Garuda caught it between his talons and shattered it with a single beat of his wings. The blast hurled the celestial army backward, scattering feathers of light across the sky. Below, mortals saw fire rain upon the clouds and believed the end of days had come. But amidst the chaos, Garuda soared higher still, untouched by flame or thunder. He spread his wings once more, and from their tips fell a rain of glowing feathers, each one humming with divine energy. Where they landed upon the world, they became sacred relics, objects of worship, tokens of the storm's mercy. When the last guardian fled and the storm subsided, Garuda descended upon a plateau of glassed stone, forged by the heat of his own power. His wings folded, the air around him still crackling with divine residue. He gazed toward the distant horizon, where the ocean shimmered like molten metal. Somewhere beyond that sea lay the vault of the gods, the resting place of the Amrita. He breathed, and the sky seemed to listen. So this is the strength of my wings, he said softly. But what is strength without purpose? What is freedom if she remains bound? He reached behind him and plucked one feather, its surface glowing faintly. As he held it, it hardened into a blade of gold and wind, the first feather of storm, forged from his own essence, a weapon that could slice the clouds and pierce the veils between worlds. He raised it toward the heavens. I will take what you have hidden, he vowed. For the sake of the one who knelt, I will make the sky itself kneel before me. The thunder rumbled again, not in defiance, but in answer. Thus, from the wings of one who would not bow, the storm was born, and the name of Garuda began to pass through the tongues of gods and men alike, not as a creature of flame, but as the living tempest, the feathered storm that would one day tear the heavens open. Chapter 4. The Path of Flames. The dawn broke crimson over the edges of the world, a bleeding horizon that seemed to burn the sky itself. Garuda stood at the threshold of the sun's domain, endless expanse of golden fire that seethed and shimmered like a living sea. The air was thick with radiance. Every breath scorched his lungs. Every heartbeat echoed with the roar of creation. Before him, a vast gate of molten gold floated in the air, carved with symbols older than the stars. Its surface rippled with sunlight, and from behind it came a voice that could shatter stone. Who dares approach the heart of the sky? Garuda spread his wings, their edges glowing like blades. I am Garuda, son of Vinata, and child of the wind. I come not to worship, but to claim my truth. The gate flared, and from its core emerged Surya, the sun god, his body a burning sphere, his eyes two living comets. Around him revolved 7 radiant horses, their manes trailing fire, their hooves striking sparks across the void. Garuda, the god said, his voice a fusion of thunder and song. Your wings bear my light, yet you stand here demanding the sun to yield. Do you know what it means to walk into flame? I was born in the shadow of slavery, Garuda answered. If I burn, then I burn as a free soul. The sun flickered, its fury momentarily softened by curiosity. Then prove it. Cross the path of flames, where even gods dissolve into light. Survive it, and my blessing shall be yours. Fail, and you will be nothing but ash scattered across eternity. Without hesitation, Garuda stepped forward. The moment his talons touched the first tongue of fire, the world around him exploded into color. Red, gold, white, teach hue, a wave of agony that seared not only his feathers, but his soul. The wind fled, the sky recoiled. He screamed, not in fear, but in defiance, his voice swallowed by the inferno. The flames coiled around him like serpents, whispering ancient truths and hidden temptations. They hissed with voices that sounded like his mother's cries, his father's silence, and the laughter of gods who had never known chains. Give up, they whispered. You are a creature of air, not flame. The heavens will not let a bird rule their light. Garuda's eyes blazed. Then I will become light itself. He beat his wings once, and the inferno surged higher. His feathers caught fire, not consuming, but transforming, turning into streams of molten gold. The pain was unbearable, but within it he found revelation. The fire did not seek to destroy him. It sought to know him, to test whether his heart could bear the weight of divine fire without shattering. He closed his eyes and surrendered, not to weakness, but to understanding. He let the flames pierce him, peel away pride, rage, and doubt, until all that remained was pure will. Time lost meaning. The fire became silence. The silence became vision. In that void of light, Garuda saw a vast expanse of creation worlds, spinning in orbits of gold, rivers of stars, the laughter of gods echoing through eternity. And in the center of it all, a single feather, his feather, drifted through the cosmos, glowing brighter than suns. When his eyes opened again, he stood no longer in fire, but in a field of light. The flames had bowed before him, and his wings were no longer gold, they were white, each feather tipped with blue fire, the mark of the sun's inner breath. Surya watched from his throne of radiance, a flicker of awe in his solar gaze. You walked through the fire, not as one who fears death, but as one who teaches the flame to live. You are not merely my son by blood, you are my successor by courage. Garuda knelt, the first and last time he ever bowed. Then grant me your fire, Father of light, for I must fly into the darkness, where even gods dare not tread. Surya extended his hand, and from his palm poured a drop of molten light. It hovered above Garuda's chest, then sank into his heart. The world shook, the mountains of heaven groaned, and a new sun was born within him. From this day, Surya declared, you shall command the flame that purifies and destroys. The winds shall bend to your heat, the shadows shall flee your wings. But remember, fire that frees can also consume. Do not let your flame become the chain you hate. Garuda rose, his wings spreading wide. The air rippled with divine resonance. Then let my fire burn only for freedom. He turned toward the edge of the sun's realm. Below, the world shimmered in haze and storm. Far away, beyond the line of light, lay the realm of serpents. The Nagas, where the Amrita, the nectar of immortality, was guarded by ancient oaths. Surya watched him go. Fly, my son. But know this, the gods are not your enemies, nor are they your masters. The true trial lies within your own flame. Garuda looked back once, and his eyes burned with purpose. Then may my wings be the dawn that breaks all chains. With a single beat, he leaped into the air. The fire followed, shaping into wings of radiant power that trailed across the heavens. Mortals below saw it and believed a new star had been born. But the gods knew better. They whispered among themselves, voices trembling between reverence and fear. The firebird flies, they said, and the balance of heaven trembles as Garuda vanished into the horizon. His cry echoed through all realms of sound that carried both promise and warning. For the world had never seen such a creature, born of wind, tempered by flame, and destined to challenge eternity itself. And thus, the legend of the fire-winged Garuda began to spread, not as a tale of rebellion, but as a hymn of transformation, of a soul that walked through the heart of the sun and emerged brighter than day. Chapter 5. The Serpent's Kingdom Beyond the Edge of Sunlight, where dawn dissolves into mist, and the air turns heavy with salt, lies the world beneath all worlds. The Serpent's Kingdom, hidden beneath the coils of the Mekong's shadow and the roots of forgotten mountains. It is a realm that does not welcome light, for light reveals, and revelation is poison to the deep. Garuda descended from the heavens like a falling star. The winds screamed as he broke through the clouds, diving past the peaks of mountains crowned in snow, past the rivers that sang to the sea. His wings shed sparks that ignited the storms, and the thunder followed him like war drums. He had crossed the realm of fire, tamed the breath of the sun, and carried within him the flame of Surya. Yet as he approached the endless waters below, the light within him began to flicker. The sea did not tremble before him. It absorbed him, swallowing his radiance into the infinite dark. Garuda hovered above the waves, his eyes narrowing. The ocean stretched out in silence, mirror-like and unbroken. Then, from beneath its surface, a ripple, subtle, serpentine, spread outward. A voice rose from the depths, ancient and soft. Why do you disturb the sleep of the deep ones, skybird? Garuda's wings tightened. I seek the Amrita, the nectar of life, stolen by your kind. My mother serves your queen in bondage. I will free her or die in your waters. Laughter answered him, low and endless, the kind that echoes through the bones of the earth. Bold words for a hatchling of the wind, the voice hissed. Come then, let the deep judge your worth. The sea exploded. From its heart rose towers of water and shadow, coiling into shapes too vast for mortal eyes. One by one, the Nagas emerged, serpents of colossal form, their scales shimmering with the light of underwater stars. Some bore crowns of coral. Others wore necklaces of black pearls that pulsed like hearts. Their eyes burned with the green of poison, their tongues flickering like lightning in slow motion. And then the ocean parted, revealing the throne of the Naga King Vasuki, the Serpent Lord, whose coils encircled mountains and whose breath could still storms. His head rose from the abyss, crowned with 7 hoods, each whispering a different truth, a different lie. Garuda hovered above him, wings outstretched, casting a faint glow upon the dark. Vasuki, Garuda said, I come for my mother's freedom and the nectar your kind hoards. Surrender it, and I shall leave your waters untouched. The great serpent's laughter rolled across the sea. You speak like a god, little bird, yet you bleed like any creature. The nectar is not ours to give. It is guarded for a reason, to keep the balance between sky and abyss. If you take it, the world will burn. Garuda's eyes blazed. Then let it burn, if it means ending chains. Vasuki's 7 heads rose higher, the sea trembling beneath his weight. So be it. The ocean erupted into war. Waves turned into spears, and serpents lunged from the water like arrows of darkness. Garuda roared and dove, wings cutting through the storm. Every beat of his wings summoned whirlwinds that shattered coral towers. His talons tore through scales harder than iron. His beak clashed against fangs, dripping with venom that hissed like acid upon his feathers. The sea boiled with fury. Lightning struck where Garuda flew, and thunder answered from beneath the waves. For every serpent he struck down, 2 more rose from the deep. The Naga army moved like a single, endless creature, a living river of teeth and power. Garuda's flame dimmed under the weight of the ocean's shadow. He felt the cold creeping into his bones, the pull of the deep trying to claim him. His wings slowed. His fire began to fade. Then, from within the abyss, he saw her, Vinata, his mother, bound in chains of coral, kneeling before Vasuki's throne. Her eyes were dim, her once bright feathers dulled by the darkness. "Garuda," she cried, her voice trembling through the currents. "My son, you must not fight them. The nectar you seek is the covenant of gods and serpents. To take it is to shatter creation." But Garuda only smiled, weary yet unbroken. "Then let creation be reborn in freedom." With one last beat of his wings, he summoned the flame of Surya within him. The fire burst from his chest, not as heat, but as light, pure, sacred, infinite. The water recoiled, the darkness screamed. The serpents writhed and fell back, blinded by the brilliance of the sun reborn beneath the sea. Vasuki hissed, his 7 mouths opening in fury. "Fool, you burn what you swore to save." Garuda's voice thundered through the water. "No, serpent. I burn only what was never free." With a cry that split heaven and ocean alike, he dove toward the throne. His talons shattered the coral chains, and Vinata's bonds dissolved into light. She rose, wings trembling, her tears turning to pearls that drifted through the sea like tiny moons. Garuda seized her and soared upward, breaking through the waves in a column of fire. The ocean exploded beneath them, the Naga voices echoing in rage. As he reached the sky, Vasuki's voice followed him, not in anger, but in prophecy. "Fly, Garuda, fly with your mother. But know this, the nectar you seek lies deeper still. You have freed her body, but not her fate. When you return to claim the Amrita, it is not us you will fight. It is the gods themselves." The sea closed behind him, silent once more. Garuda carried his mother through the wind, her tears glimmering in the sunlight. Below them, the ocean shimmered like glass, concealing 1,000 secrets. Above, the sky opened like a promise. For now, he had won. But in his heart, a whisper remained, the warning of Vasuki, and the faint echo of the chains that even fire could not break. And far below, in the depths where the light could not reach, the Nagas stirred once more, not in hatred, but in fear. For they had seen what no creature should ever see, the sun itself, reborn in flesh and wings. Chapter 6. The Nectar of Immortality. Beyond the 7 horizons and the veil of mortal sight, there lies a realm untouched by wind or flame, a place where the gods hid the Amrita, the nectar of immortality. It was said that this realm had no direction, no shadow, no time. There, truth and illusion were one and the same. and only those who had faced both could walk without losing themselves. Garuda flew for 9 days and 9 nights. His wings burned brighter than dawn, yet the sky around him grew darker the further he went. Stars vanished behind his trail, swallowed by a stillness that even time refused to touch. The whispers of the ocean faded. The light of Surya within him began to dim. He had left the realm of mortals. Now he entered the dominion of gods. At the edge of the void, he found the gate, not of stone, not of metal, but of silence. It pulsed faintly, like the heart of the universe itself, guarded by creatures born of starlight and law. Their eyes glowed like polished suns, and their forms shifted between lions, serpents, and flame. None may touch the Amrita. One spoke, voice calm as eternity. Not god, not demon, not winged, son of the wind. It belongs to the balance. Turn back, Garuda, before you unmake the song of creation. Garuda's eyes burned, defiant. If the song of creation demands chains, then it was never worth singing. He struck his wings. The sound shattered the silence. The guardians lunged, their forms blurred into blades of light. Garuda's talons clashed against them, each strike ringing like thunder in a hollow sky. They fought without hatred, the way fire meets wind, inevitable and eternal. Each blow tore the heavens apart, sending ripples through existence itself. But the guardians were not mere warriors. They were embodiments of truth. Each time Garuda struck one down, his own fire dimmed, as though he had cut through a piece of his own soul. He faltered, wings trembling, the flame in his chest flickering. Then, through the haze, he saw his mother, not in chains, but as she once was, radiant and free, watching him from the edge of the void. Garuda, her voice whispered through the winds of nowhere. The nectar you seek is not the answer. What is freedom, if it is built on theft? What is light, if it blinds all else? He wanted to answer, but the void swallowed his voice. He had come too far to turn back, yet her words burned within him deeper than any wound. He closed his eyes. The flame within him pulsed once more, but softer, steadier, no longer a weapon. When he opened them, the guardians had stopped. They circled him in silence, their forms shifting once more into human shapes, radiant, sorrowful, almost compassionate. You understand now, one said. The nectar is not a prize to win, but a truth to endure. The gate opened without sound. Garuda stepped through and entered the chamber of Amrita. It was not a hall, nor a temple, but an ocean of light, suspended in nothingness. In its center floated a single lotus, each petal made of liquid gold. Upon it sat a vessel, simple, unadorned, yet glowing with the brilliance of all stars combined. Inside shimmered the nectar, the essence of eternity, neither liquid nor flame, but both. Garuda approached. The closer he came, the heavier his wings grew. Every heartbeat echoed with doubt. He saw reflections in the golden surface, faces of gods, serpents, mortals, even his own, all whispering different truths. Take it, and your mother will never die. Take it, and the gods will fall. Take it, and you will become what you hate. His talon touched the vessel. The universe shivered. Flashes of creation filled his mind. The first light, the first breath, the first lie. He saw the endless cycle. Gods creating chains, mortals breaking them, serpents guarding secrets, and firebirds rising again and again, never free, never done. He understood then the Amrita was not meant to grant immortality. It was meant to test desire. To take it was to defy eternity. To leave it was to transcend it. He drew back his hand. "I will not drink from your illusion," he said, his voice echoing like wind through glass. "Freedom that depends on nectar is not freedom at all." The lotus trembled. From its heart, the light expanded, filling the void. The guardians knelt. "Then you have passed," they said, "not by strength, but by wisdom. The nectar will not grant you eternity, it will grant you truth." The light poured into him, not through touch, but through recognition. His heart ignited once more, no longer as fire or sun, but as balance, the harmony of air, flame, and silence. Garuda rose, his wings radiant but gentle. The void now felt alive around him, not empty, but filled with a music older than creation. He turned to leave, but before he crossed the threshold, a final voice called from beyond time. "Garuda," it said, deep, calm, infinite. "You have tasted truth, yet the world will still see you as thief and rebel. Are you prepared to bear their hatred?" Garuda paused, then smiled faintly. "Let them. I was not born to be worshipped. I was born to be free." The voice faded, and with it, the realm of light. When Garuda opened his eyes again, he was back in the sky, above the mortal world. The sun shone brighter than before, and yet his shadow stretched far across the land, the mark of one who had flown where even gods feared to tread. Below, the rivers shimmered. The Nagas watched from their depths, silent but knowing. In their eyes was not hatred, but respect. And in the distance, his mother looked up from her place of freedom, her gaze filled with pride and tears. Garuda soared higher, his wings trailing ribbons of flame and wind. The song of chains was gone now, replaced by something softer, the whisper of balance, the music of choice. And the heavens, for the first time, sang not of gods or serpents, but of the Garuda King, who found immortality, not in nectar, but in understanding. Chapter 7. Wrath of the Gods. The sky trembled. Garuda's flight had shaken the heavens, and the light that poured from his wings cast new constellations across the void. From the clouds of thunder, from the golden palaces of Amaravati, the gods watched in uneasy silence. "He has touched the nectar," said one. "He has defied the guardians," murmured another. And Indra, lord of storms, clenched his lightning spear until thunder growled in his palm. Garuda had become a symbol not of creation, but of rebellion, a flame that refused to bow. And in a cosmos built upon obedience, such a flame could not be allowed to burn. So the sky gathered its armies. Indra descended from his throne of storms, his chariot drawn by elephants of cloud and lightning. His eyes flashed like twin bolts, his armor gleaming with the fury of tempests. Behind him followed legions of devas, spirits of thunder, wind, and law, their weapons forged from pure starlight. Garuda Indra's voice roared through the heavens. "You have trespassed upon the realm of gods. You have stolen from the sanctum of eternity. Return the nectar and surrender your fire, or I will strike you down where sky meets void." Garuda hovered in the open air, wings unfurled, golden feathers scattering sunlight in radiant arcs. His gaze was calm, unafraid. "I stole nothing," he said. "I took only truth, something no god has ever owned." The winds fell silent. Even the clouds seemed to hesitate. Indra raised his spear. "Then truth shall taste thunder." The sky split open. Lightning poured down in torrents, coiling like serpents of white fire. The world below shook as Garuda met the storm head-on. His wings beat once, and the thunder broke against them like waves upon a cliff. The collision of their powers split the air, birthing cyclones that roared from horizon to horizon. Every strike of Indra's lightning found its mark, yet each wound only made Garuda's fire burn brighter. He moved faster than the storm itself, weaving through bolts of wrath, each motion carving symbols of flame across the clouds. "Is this your justice, Indra?" he shouted through the thunder. Chains wrapped in light, freedom bound by law. Indra hurled his spear, a weapon forged from the heart of a dying star. It pierced the sky and struck Garuda's chest. The heavens blazed white. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the spear melted. Garuda's chest burned not with pain, but with radiant fire. He grasped the weapon in his talons and crushed it into dust. Lightning spilled from his claws, dancing across the void like sparks from a forge. "I carry the sun within me," Garuda said. "No thunder can claim me." Fury flashed in Indra's eyes. He raised his hand, summoning the Vajra, the ultimate thunderbolt, the weapon that had slain demons and split mountains. The clouds darkened, the stars vanished, and the very breath of the cosmos stilled. Then faced the storm of creation itself. Indra roared and hurled the world dissolved in light. The bolt struck Garuda with the force of eternity. The explosion tore the sky apart, scattering feathers of gold across the heavens. The sound reached even the deepest oceans and the farthest mountains. When the brilliance faded, the sky was quiet once more. Smoke curled through the clouds. Indra hovered in the ruin, his breath heavy. "It is done," he murmured. "The flame has been extinguished." But then a sound, soft at first, like a heartbeat, then a voice, clear and calm. "You cannot kill what was never born to obey." The smoke parted. Garuda rose from the ashes of lightning, his wings glowing white with the light of rebirth. His feathers, burned and broken, had turned to pure radiance, each one a living flame. Around him spun the winds, not in rage, but in harmony, storm and sunlight intertwined. He spread his wings wide, and the thunder bowed. Indra stared in silence, the Vajra's fragments falling from his trembling hand. "You endured the wrath of heaven," Garuda nodded. "I did not fight you, Indra. I fought the fear that rules you. The fear that if mortals learn to fly, the gods will no longer be gods." The words struck deeper than any weapon. For a moment, even the Lord of Thunder could not answer. Finally, Indra lowered his gaze. "You seek freedom, yet your flame burns too close to pride. Do you not see that fire can blind as easily as it can guide?" Garuda's eyes softened, perhaps, but blindness in pursuit of truth is holier than sight in chains. Indra looked into the firebird's gaze and saw not rebellion, but understanding. The storm within him began to calm. "You are not my enemy," he said quietly, "but your defiance will echo through the heavens. The gods will not forgive." Garuda inclined his head. "Then let them remember that even the sky must learn to share its air." Indra raised his arm, and the thunder ceased. The storm clouds dissolved, revealing the blue vault of heaven once more. "Fly, Garuda," he said, his voice weary but resolute. "You have earned the right to soar where none have flown. But know this, the day you forget humility, the storm will return." Garuda bowed his head, not in submission, but in respect. "Then may the storm be my teacher." He spread his wings, and as he flew past the fading thunder, the sky itself seemed to sigh in relief. Below, mortals who witnessed the battle fell to their knees, whispering prayers to the burning bird who had stood against the lightning. And high above them, Garuda soared into the light, neither god nor beast, but something beyond both, a being of flame and wind, tempered by wrath, guided by truth. The heavens watched, and in that moment, the gods knew the balance had shifted. For there now flew in the sky one who could not be commanded, one who carried the fire of creation without kneeling before it. Garuda, the flame unchained. Chapter 8. The Oath of Balance. The thunder faded into silence. The clouds that had burned like silver wounds across the heavens began to part, and from the stillness emerged a new dawn, pale, soft, almost mournful. The sky seemed to breathe again, relieved, yet uncertain, as though unsure whether peace was truly peace or merely the quiet before the next storm. Garuda hovered between the fading clouds, his feathers glowing faintly gold, the scent of lightning still clinging to them. The world below, forests, rivers, mountains, shimmered in reverent awe. Everywhere his gaze fell, life bowed to the memory of the storm he had survived. But within him there was no triumph, only silence. The storm had left its echo not upon the world, but within his soul. Then a voice, neither male nor female, spoke from the horizon, soft as wind, vast as eternity. Garuda, son of wind and flame, why do you linger among the ashes of your victory? Garuda turned. The air shimmered, folding in upon itself, until light took form. 4 faces looking in every direction, eyes serene yet knowing, and in their midst burned a quiet sun. Upon a throne of lotus and time sat Brahma, the creator. Garuda bowed his head slightly. I linger, not to boast, Lord Brahma, but to understand. The storm has ended, yet I feel no peace. I fought for freedom, and now I ask, what remains when the chains are gone? Brahma smiled, not with joy, but with the weight of infinite patience. You speak as one who has flown beyond the clouds, but has yet to see the sky. Freedom is not the absence of limits, Garuda. It is the understanding of them. Garuda's wings flared, catching the light like molten gold. But if I am bound, am I still free? If creation has laws, then does it not also have prisons? The god rose from his throne, his 4 arms unfolding like rivers of wisdom. Come, Brahma said, and with emotion the world shifted. The two stood above a vast mirror of water, the ocean of origins. In its depths shimmered reflections of all things, stars being born, mountains rising, civilizations blooming and dying. Every ripple was a lifetime, every drop a destiny. This is the balance you defy, Brahma said. Every wing beat, every flame changes the pattern. Creation endures because it breathes in rhythm, give and take, rise and fall. Garuda watched the endless reflections. And what of those who cannot breathe within your rhythm? Must they remain earthbound forever? Brahma touched the water, and a single image rose, that of Garuda himself, struggling against the chains of the Naga's wings, torn yet eyes aflame with defiance. This was you, Brahma said. Your suffering gave birth to your freedom. Your rebellion gave meaning to your existence. But tell me, Garuda, what would happen if all beings sought freedom without balance? The reflection shifted again. Now the world burned, skies blackened, rivers of fire devouring the earth, chaos unbound. Garuda's gaze darkened. Then freedom becomes destruction, just as obedience becomes stagnation. Brahma replied gently. The universe is a wing. One feather is law, the other is liberty. Pluck either, and it can no longer fly. The great bird fell silent, the reflection of fire still flickering in his eyes. Then what am I to do, Creator? Am I to submit again after all that I have broken? Brahma's smile deepened. Submission is for the blind. But you, Garuda, have seen you must not kneel, you must choose. Balance is not imposed from above, it is born from within. He raised his hand, and a small flame appeared in his palm, not the wildfire of storms, but the steady glow of a temple lamp. This is the fire of Dharma, the law that sustains creation. Carry it, not as a chain, but as a compass. Let your freedom serve harmony, not pride. Garuda extended his talon, and the flame descended into his grasp. It did not burn, it pulsed softly, alive, as though it recognized the soul that held it. Then I swear, this Garuda said, his voice resonant with the weight of oath and eternity. By wind and flame, by sky and storm, I shall fly for truth, not dominion. I shall carry light where darkness breeds ignorance, and I shall bow to no power that demands fear instead of wisdom. The ocean below shimmered. Every reflection turned toward him, from stars to mortals, from gods to beasts, as though the universe itself bore witness. Brahma nodded, his eyes luminous with quiet pride. Then the heavens are renewed. The world needs fire, but guided by heart, not hunger. Remember this, Garuda, even the Creator must remain humble before his creation. With that, the god's form began to dissolve into radiance, his words fading like the last note of a sacred chant. Fly, fire of the sky. Balance now carries your name. When the light vanished, Garuda stood alone above the ocean of origins. He looked into the still waters one last time, and for the first time, his reflection smiled back. He spread his wings. The golden flame of Dharma glowed in his chest, bright but gentle, like sunrise over the Mekong. And when he flew, the world below breathed easier. Rivers flowed in rhythm, storms calmed. Even the gods looked upward with something like respect. For now flew not a rebel nor a conqueror, but a guardian of balance, the eternal symbol that freedom and creation must walk together or not at all. Chapter 9. The Serpent's Return. The night fell heavy over the Mekong. It was not a darkness of absence, but of presence, thick, breathing, ancient. The river that once shimmered beneath Garuda's light now seemed to whisper in forgotten tongues, each ripple echoing a name buried by time. The villagers along the banks began to dream strange dreams of scales beneath the moon, of eyes glowing deep below the current, of a crown of serpents rising from the abyss. For centuries, the Naga had slept beneath the river's heart, bound by divine seals and the silence of Garuda's flame. But balance, once disturbed, has its price. In the depth of the Mekong, the water began to churn. The seals carved from prayers, shaped from light, trembled and cracked. One by one, the runes dissolved into the murk, swallowed by the pulse of something vast awakening. The river darkened, glowing faintly red from within, as if it carried blood instead of water. Then, from the deepest trench, a voice rose, slow, resonant, and terrible. Garuda, keeper of the sky, your balance has blinded you. The surface broke. A colossal head emerged, scaled in emerald and obsidian, eyes like molten gold. The ancient Naga king Vasukra, who once ruled the river realms before the age of men, had returned. Around him coiled thousands of serpents, their hoods flared, their eyes luminous with fury and grief. He rose from the river like a mountain of flesh and storm, his breath turning mist to thunder. Garuda, soaring above the clouds, felt it immediately, the call of the deep, the echo of an old war. His wings faltered. For the first time since his oath, He felt the pull of dread. He descended through the clouds, the air burning with his light, and hovered above the river that had once been his domain. Vasukra, he called, voice ringing through the night. Why have you broken your slumber? The balance was restored. The serpent's laughter rolled like an earthquake through the valley. Balance, Vasukra hissed. You speak of balance as though you invented it. You swore to Brahma to protect all. Yet what of those below? The river chokes with silence while the sky sings your name. Your fire blinds the world beneath the waves. Garuda's eyes flared with golden fire. The river was sealed because it drowned the innocent in darkness. You forget your own hunger, do I? Vasukra's coils rippled through the water, raising storms that shattered trees along the shore. I was not hunger, Garuda. I was memory. The river remembers what the sky forgets. For every storm you silenced, a spirit was left unspoken. For every oath you took, a god was forgotten. From the banks, the people watched in awe and terror. One half of the sky burning with wings of gold, the other half writhing with serpents made of shadow and emerald light. Thunder rolled above, the earth trembled below. Garuda's feathers bristled. You speak of the past as if it were a wound. The world moves forward. The river, too, must flow. And when the river flows into flame, Vasukra's voice deepened, eyes narrowing. When your balance burns, the water that gives life, do you not see? Skyfire, your truth brings drought. The words struck deep. Garuda faltered, wings dimming slightly. He had sworn to Brahma that his fire would guide, not consume. But was Vasukra right? Had his light blinded him to the shadowed side of creation? The Naga King saw the doubt, and his fangs gleamed. You carry fire as though it were a gift, but fire consumes. Even gods cannot hold it forever. Vasukra rose higher, his body towering above temples and forests, coils blotting out the moon. Around him, the other Naga chanted in the lost tongue of the depths, a song that made the river rise like a living thing. Garuda spread his wings wide, the flame of Dharma burning bright upon his chest. Then, if fire consumes, let it consume me before it devours the world. He dove. The collision was cataclysmic. The sky met the river in an explosion of light and shadow. Flames hissed against water, and steam swallowed the world. The Mekong became a battlefield of elements, thunder and tide, wind and venom. Garuda's talons struck Vasukra's crown. The serpent's coils lashed around his wings. Fire met water in a storm that tore the heavens open. Each blow cracked mountains. Each cry sent ripples through the mortal realm. But as they clashed, the truth became clear. Neither could destroy the other. For Garuda was the breath of the wind, and Vasukra the pulse of the deep. They were two halves of one eternal rhythm. And so the battle slowed. Garuda hovered, panting, his wings charred at the edges. Vasukra's scales steamed, his body trembling from exhaustion. You cannot end me, the Naga hissed softly, just as I cannot end you. Sky and river, flame and blood, we are bound. Garuda's voice, weary yet resolute, answered, then let us bind not through war, but through remembrance. He closed his eyes. The fire of Dharma pulsed once more, and from it poured light not of destruction, but of memory, visions of the first dawn. When the river and the sky were brothers, when creation had not yet learned to divide itself, Vasukra watched, his anger flickering like dying embers. I remember, he whispered, before gods, before pride. The light enveloped them both. The river calmed. When the mist cleared, the Naga King was gone. Only the Mekong remained, flowing gently. its surface shimmering with faint gold, as if blessed by both flame and water. Garuda stood upon the wind, his eyes somber. "Even balance must bleed," he murmured. Far below, the people saw his reflection upon the water, and in that reflection they saw both the serpent and the bird. That night, the Mekong sang again, not in rage, but in remembrance, and above its endless song, Garuda soared, silent, weary, but unbroken. Chapter 10. The Song of the River and Sky. At dawn, the world held its breath. The Mekong was silent, too silent. Mist hovered above its skin, soft as the breath of a sleeping god. The storm had passed, the thunder was gone, and yet the air trembled with memory. Every leaf, every ripple seemed to whisper of what had transpired. The battle of sky and river, of flame and scale, of oaths and regrets. Garuda drifted high above the water, his wings weary, his fire dimmed to a faint amber glow. He felt no triumph in survival, only the weight of something vast, unfinished. The serpent was gone, yet not gone. The river flowed, yet not freely. It carried within its depths the echo of the Naga's sorrow, a song without words. And then the song began. It was not sound but feeling, a vibration beneath the surface of existence, soft yet infinite. The water rippled with rhythm, as though the river itself remembered how to breathe. From the depths came a melody, ancient as creation, woven from both lament and blessing. Garuda listened. He closed his eyes, letting the sound enter him. Each note carried the memory of water, the first rain that kissed the earth, the tears of gods who had once mourned their own creations, the laughter of mortals beneath monsoon skies. It was the river's truth, not vengeance, not pride, but the eternal need to flow. Then, a whisper in the wind, "Skyfire, will you sing with me?" Garuda's eyes opened. The mist before him shimmered, shaping itself into a faint silhouette. Not the monstrous coils of Vasukra, but a spirit of light and water. The Naga King's essence had not perished. It had transcended, purified by battle and memory. Garuda bowed his head. "I thought you gone." "I was," the spirit replied. "But when fire remembers mercy, and water remembers strength, neither can die. I am what remains, not wrath, but river." The words flowed through Garuda's heart like wind through a chime. He spread his wings, and for the first time, his fire did not roar, it sang. The flame pulsed gently, each beat in harmony with the current below. Together, they began to weave the song of the river and sky. It was a hymn without language, a vibration that shaped the world anew. As Garuda flew above the Mekong, his light reflected upon the water. As the Naga spirit swam below, his shadow traced the same path. Their movements created spirals of gold and blue that danced across the horizon. Mountains bowed, forests bent in reverence, even the clouds gathered to listen. And where their song touched the earth, balance returned. Crops that had withered began to sprout again. The fish of the Mekong rose to the surface, shimmering like coins of the gods. Rain fell not as punishment, but as blessing. The people along the river woke from their fear and wept in awe, for they saw in the dawn sky two shapes intertwined, a bird of fire and a serpent of light, circling one another in eternal grace. From that dance, a legend was born. The elders would later tell their children, when the river sings with the sky, the world breathes in peace. But within that harmony lay a deeper truth, one only Garuda and Vasukra knew. For their song was not merely peace, it was remembrance. Each note of the melody carried the story of their conflict, not to glorify it, but to preserve it. Because every age, Brahma had said, would face its own storm between freedom and order, between fire and flow. And when that time came, mortals would need to remember how the sky once learned to listen to the river. As the song continued, Garuda felt the flame within him shift. It no longer burned outward, but inward, becoming still, deep, and eternal. He felt connected to everything: the wind that kissed his feathers, the tide that brushed the earth, the heartbeat of every creature that lived between them. He whispered, "This is what Brahma meant." The Naga spirit's voice echoed softly. Balance is not the silence of opposites, but their harmony. You have found it, Garuda. You have become it. Garuda looked down at the shimmering current. And you, Vasukra, what will you become now? The spirit smiled, a ripple across the water. The river remembers me. That is enough. Each drop carries my name, each wave my breath. I will no longer rule. I will flow. Then flow forever, Garuda said, bowing deeply. And I shall guard the skies that cradle your song. The light between them pulsed once more, merging gold and blue, flame and tide, wind and depth. For a moment, the world was made of music alone. Then, as gently as it began, the melody faded. The Naga's spirit dissolved into mist, returning to the heart of the river. The Mekong glittered beneath the rising sun, each ripple a silent note in an unending song. Garuda rose higher, wings glowing anew. But this time, his flight did not pierce the heavens. It moved with them, fluid, unhurried, serene. Wherever his shadow passed, the world seemed to breathe easier. He looked down once more and whispered, "The sky will always need the river." And somewhere deep below, a voice replied, "And the river will always remember the sky." Thus was born the song of the river and sky, carried by winds and currents across the ages, the hymn of balance, the heart of all that lives. It is said that even now, when dusk settles over the Mekong and the water glows like molten gold, if one listens closely, they can still hear it. A distant harmony of flame and wave of freedom and grace, reminding all who live upon this earth. Nothing stands alone. Everything flows. Chapter She, the fire that sleeps the age of storms, had ended. But silence can be more dangerous than thunder. Garuda soared across the dawn sky, his feathers glinting gold beneath the sun's return. Below him, the Mekong flowed in peace, and yet, deep within his chest, the fire still pulsed, quiet but restless. It no longer roared for war, but it did not fade either. It waited for what he did not know. At night, when the stars reflected upon the river like shards of forgotten light, Garuda would perch upon the highest cliff and watch his own reflection trembling in the water. The fire within him glowed faintly beneath his ribs, a sleeping ember, soft as breath, yet ancient as creation. And sometimes, in the stillness, it whispered, "Do you think you have changed, Skyborn?" The voice was his own, yet not his. It came from within, from the core of his flame, the primal force that had once burned worlds to ash. Garuda closed his eyes. "I have found peace." The whisper laughed, not cruelly, but knowingly. "Peace is not the same as stillness. You have merely silenced me." Garuda spread his wings, feeling the warmth radiate from his chest. "You were born from wrath. You desired conquest. You devoured harmony. I will not let you rule again," the voice replied, softer now. "And yet, without me, what are you?" The wind fell silent. The question lingered like smoke. Garuda looked into the river's dark reflection, and for an instant he did not see himself. He saw 1,000 faces, all him, all different, the warrior, the savior, the destroyer, the god, the slave of his own flame. Each version stared back with eyes of fire. He understood then that the flame was not merely power, it was identity. It was everything he had ever been, the victories, the pride, the sorrow, the hunger to rise. To extinguish it was to forget himself. To let it rule was to be consumed. So he asked, quietly, "What do you want of me?" The flame pulsed, to be remembered, to be known, not as rage, but as truth. Garuda hesitated. The warmth spread through his wings, his throat, his heart. He remembered Brahma's words, "Creation and destruction are brothers. One cannot exist without the other." Perhaps peace was not the absence of fire, but its awakening without burning. So he closed his eyes and breathed deeply, once, twice, until his heartbeat aligned with the rhythm of the river below. Then he dove. Through cloud, through air, through silence, he plunged into the heart of the Mekong. The water hissed as the fire met it, steam swirling like white ghosts. The river did not resist him, it embraced him. Every droplet whispered of memory, of forgiveness, of return. And deep beneath the surface, Garuda found it, a single ember, floating like a star beneath the waves. It was his essence, separated long ago in the battle with Vasukra. He reached out and touched it. In that instant, the world vanished. He was no longer body or flame, no longer bird or god. He was inside himself, a vast void filled with light and shadow. Around him swirled memories of every life, every battle, every storm. And in the center stood a child of fire, young, wild, unbroken. The child smiled. "You feared me once, yes?" Garuda admitted, "because I did not understand you, and now I see. You were never my enemy. You were my beginning." The child extended a hand. Flame met flame. The two merged, light folding into light. Garuda gasped as he returned to his body, wings trembling. The fire within him was no longer wild. It had changed, deeper, slower, sacred. No longer a blaze that devoured, but a sun that breathed. The Mekong around him shimmered with gold. Above, the sky opened in quiet radiance, and from the horizon came the faintest echo, the song of the river and sky. But this time, Garuda could hear the missing note, the pulse of his own heart, steady and luminous. He rose from the water, droplets glinting off his feathers like falling stars. Every beat of his wings now left trails of gentle flame that did not burn, but blessed. He whispered into the wind, "The fire that sleeps does not die. It dreams, and through its dreams, the world continues." High above the world, he saw it all, mountains, rivers, forests, the villages that thrived again. And he knew his place was not to rule them, nor to guard them in solitude, but to carry their balance within him. As the sun sank into the horizon, Garuda turned his gaze westward. Beyond the mountains lay the unknown, the lands of dust and dream, where gods went to forget their names. He would go there, not as a conqueror, not as a god, but as a pilgrim of flame, to learn how even the fire could rest. And so began his silent journey, leaving behind only a streak of light across the twilight sky, a golden scar between day and night. People below would see it and whisper, "The firebird flies again, not to destroy, but to dream." Thus ended the age of storms, and began the age of reflection, when even the gods learned to sleep within their light. For the fire that sleeps is not death, it is eternity, learning how to breathe. Chapter the 12th. The Pilgrimage of the Flame. The world had grown quiet since the last battle. The rivers no longer bled gold, and the mountains no longer trembled with the voices of gods. Yet the silence was not empty. It was full of listening. It was the kind of silence that waits for revelation. Garuda flew beyond the eastern clouds, where even the winds forgot their direction. His wings carried him higher than he had ever dared to go, until the air grew thin and his heartbeat echoed like a distant drum. Beneath him, the earth curved like a sleeping giant. Above him stretched a black ocean of stars. He was searching, not for conquest, nor redemption, but for understanding. The flame within him, now calm and luminous, whispered in rhythm with his breath. It spoke not in words, but in visions of ancient temples swallowed by the jungle, of forgotten chants carved into the bones of mountains, of faces that had once worshipped and feared him. He realized then that his story, his fire, had never belonged to him alone. The flame was ancestral, passed through worlds like a memory of creation. Every god, every mortal, every spark of life carried its echo. It was the same fire that had birthed the stars, the same that danced in the hearts of the first humans when they struck stones together and called it light. He whispered, "I am not the beginning. I am the remembrance." For 7 days and 7 nights, he flew through storms of silence, over seas of mist, until at last he saw it, the mountain of echoes, the navel of the heavens, where Brahma was said to rest between the breaths of the universe. The mountain was not made of stone, but of light, layers upon layers of glowing script, each rune a prayer, each prayer a heartbeat. As Garuda descended, the air shimmered with invisible voices. He landed upon a ledge where time itself slowed. The flame within him flickered as if bowing, and then he heard it, the voice of Brahma, soft yet infinite, child of the wind and fire. "You have flown far," Garuda knelt, wings folding like silk. "I have burned, I have broken, and I have become still. Tell me, O Creator, what is left for a flame that no longer seeks to devour?" Brahma's voice rippled like water over stone. "To rest is not to end, my child. The fire within you is the pulse of all life. It was never meant to rule, only to remind. Remind, yes, the world forgets. It forgets its own heartbeat, its own divine rhythm. You, Garuda, are the memory that returns when darkness grows too deep." Garuda lifted his gaze. "Then what must I do?" Brahma's form appeared, a vast silhouette woven from stars, neither god nor man, but the pattern behind all things. "You must sleep within the flame, so that the world may awaken when it calls your name again. You must become the breath of balance. Neither life nor death, neither sky nor river." Garuda understood. The pilgrimage was never a journey across the world. It was a return to the eternal center, where all things begin and end together. He spread his wings wide, the golden feathers glimmering with quiet fire. "If I sleep, will the world remember?" Brahma smiled, or perhaps it was the stars smiling through him. It always does. It remembers in the song of the cranes, in the gleam of dawn upon the Mekong, in the prayers whispered before harvest. It remembers every time a being chooses creation over destruction. Garuda's heart swelled. He looked down, far below. The world shimmered, rivers curling like veins of silver, forests breathing, humans lighting fires by the shore. The balance was fragile, but alive. He felt neither sorrow nor pride, only completion. "I am ready," he said. He rose one final time, higher than any living creature could endure. His feathers caught fire, not in agony, but in awakening. Each flame became a note, and together they formed a melody so pure It wove through every plane of existence. The song of Garuda. It was a hymn without words, a vibration that rippled across time. The rivers glowed, the mountains hummed, and even the gods fell silent to listen. When the song reached its final note, Garuda folded his wings and let himself fall, not in defeat, but in surrender. He became light. He became wind. He became the eternal ember that sleeps beneath the Mekong's depths, the heart of fire that keeps the world alive. From that day on, the people of the river spoke of him in reverence. At twilight, they said, when the sun touches the water and the sky turns gold, one can see his reflection, a winged blaze rippling across the surface. They would whisper prayers, not of fear, but of gratitude. May the firebird dream well tonight, for when he wakes, the world shall rise anew. And in the heart of the river, beneath layers of water and time, the fire, indeed, slept warm, eternal, patient, waiting, for the world always forgets. And when it does, the flame will open its wings once more to remind creation of what it truly is. Not wrath, not glory, but balance. The silence that burns, the flame that breathes. Thus ended the epic of the Garuda King, and thus began the whisper that would become a legend, carried on the wind, from temple to temple, from prayer to prayer, from one heartbeat to the next. For even gods must dream, so that the world may awaken. Epilogue. When the wind remembers the centuries rolled over the Mekong like waves of breath, unseen, unhurried, infinite, the river changed its course. The forests rose and fell, kingdoms bloomed and withered like flowers of dust. But deep beneath the eternal current, something still glowed. It was not the fire of war, nor the light of vengeance. It was gentler, the warmth of a sleeping heart. They called it Garuda's flame, though no one alive had ever seen the bird himself. And yet, when fishermen cast their nets beneath the full moon, they swore they saw the water shimmer gold, as though a pair of wings passed beneath. Children would gasp, clutching each other in awe, while the elders only smiled and whispered, "Do not fear, it is only the king of fire dreaming." Generations passed. The tales of gods became myths, and the myths became songs. The temples of old fell silent, but the wind still sang, carrying echoes of a name that refused to vanish. Garuda, he had become more than a being. He was now a rhythm, woven into the pulse of the land itself. Every dawn that blazed upon the river's skin, every spark that leaped from the hearth, every wind that brushed across the paddy fields, all carried a fragment of his breath. For Garuda's final act had not been an end. It had been a seed. And from that seed, the world learned how to burn without consuming, how to live without conquering, how to remember without clinging. In hidden monasteries, along the mountain passes, monks still chant the song of Garuda, a melody with no beginning, no end, a cycle that mirrors the rise and fall of existence. They say if one listens deeply enough, past the hum of life, one can hear the faint beat of enormous wings above the silence. It is said that when the balance of the world tilts too far, when greed poisons the rivers, when pride blinds the kings, when the fire of men turns cruel, the dream of Garuda will stir. The river will shimmer, and the mountains will echo with thunder that has no storm. Then, from the horizon, the flame bird will rise again, not as a god of destruction, but as the memory of what was once sacred. He will not come with armies nor lightning, but with the simple truth that even fire can heal if it remembers to breathe. For now, though, he sleeps deep within the Mekong's endless heart. His wings folded like twilight, his gaze turned inward, dreaming of skies that never fade. The world above moves on, as it always has, forgetting, remembering, forgetting again. But the flame below endures, unbroken. At sunset, the people of the delta still light lanterns upon the water. They whisper prayers to the golden current, letting the small fires drift away into the darkness. And as the lights float downstream, one by one, the river seems to glow like molten gold, as if the god himself smiles from beneath the waves. May your fire never fade, they say. May the wind remember your name. The night deepens, the wind rises. Somewhere across the starlit sky, a faint cry echoes, half thunder, half song. The Mekong answers with ripples of light. And for a heartbeat, just one, the world is whole again. Thus ends the epic of the Garuda King, a tale not of power, but of awakening, not of conquest, but of remembrance. For even gods must rest, so that the flame of creation may dream anew.